Hello everyone, and welcome back to my third video. In this video I will be giving my thoughts and insights on how I think a general election will play out between incumbent President Donald Trump and junior Senator Kamala Harris from the state of California. Harris has recently shot up in the Democratic primary polls and is currently polling at 14.7%, which is 0.1% behind Bernie Sanders. That's according to the Real Clear Politics average, and this personally really surprised me, which is why I am doing this election prediction. Kamala Harris is in third place and could challenge Bernie Sanders for second place. As usual, I will be filling in the states based on the poll closing format, starting at 7 PM and finishing at 1 AM. Without further ado, let's get right into this video. I will only fill in what the safe states would be, and then I will go through the swing states in more detail. So we start off in Vermont at 7 PM. Vermont would be a safe Democratic state. I do not see that state becoming close very soon at all. I would see Kentucky, Indiana and South Carolina as safe Republican states. Virginia and Georgia would be swing states, so I will not fill them in now. In terms of the 7:30 PM poll closings, West Virginia would be safe red. Ohio and North Carolina would be swing states. We move on to 8 PM, and there would be a number of states to fill in. Maine's 3rd congressional district would be safe. Maine at large would be a swing state, and the 2nd congressional district, I think, but it would be a swing state, I think. Delaware would be safe blue. In fact, all these states along here would be safe. I do not see these becoming close at all, including the District of Columbia. Illinois would be safe. That takes Harris up to 76 electoral votes. However, there are states which Donald Trump would win. Donald Trump, I think, would win Alabama. I think he would win Mississippi in the safe column. I think he would win Tennessee, Missouri, and Oklahoma in the safe column. And I think that concludes the 8 PM poll closings. 8:30 PM, and Arkansas goes to President Trump, taking him to 82 in the Electoral College. And now 9 PM, and there's a big batch of states to fill in. New York would be safe for Kamala Harris. Michigan would be a swing state. Wisconsin would be a swing state. Minnesota would be a swing state. And then we have North Dakota safe for Trump. South Dakota. Nebraska, except the 2nd congressional district, which we will come back to. Kansas. I think Texas would be safe, and my reasoning is that Kamala Harris does not have the Latino appeal needed to make Texas close, and I think the Mitt Romney voters would come back to Trump, which I think could push Texas above 10% and then therefore into the safe category. Louisiana would be safe for Trump. Wyoming would be safe for Trump. And Colorado would be a swing state, New Mexico would be a swing state, and Arizona would be a swing state. 10 PM, and we have Montana and Utah going to Trump by a safe margin. Nevada and Iowa would be swing states. 11 PM rolls around, Idaho goes to Trump, and then the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, California, and Hawaii all go to Kamala Harris, putting her in the lead, 183 electoral votes to 164 Donald Trump. And then we have 1 AM, Alaska goes to Trump, 163 for Trump, 183 for Kamala Harris. These are all the states that I think would definitely be safe if this was the 2020 matchup. Now we will move into the states which will be decided by less than 10%. In Virginia, Trump has only a -4 approval rating. This is according to the Morning Consult approval polls for the month of June, so the latest ones. And I think without Tim Kaine as the VP nominee, I honestly would see Virginia going to Trump by a lean margin. So that would be less than 5%, but I think it would still go to him nonetheless. In the state of Georgia, I think Trump would win it by a likely margin, but only just. I think the moderate Republicans would come back to him, but at the same time, Harris would increase black turnout. So I think these two factors would basically cancel each other out, and I think Trump would win it by 5 to 6%. So only just in the likely column. In Ohio, I think Trump would win it by a likely margin, and this is because the black vote would be out for Harris, just like it was in Obama in 2012. So I think it would be very difficult for Trump to win Ohio by more than 10%. However, having said that, I still do think that his base will come out for him, so it'll be above 5% for Trump in Ohio. But I just don't see a pathway to Trump winning it by more than 10% as of now. So Ohio remains likely red. In the state of North Carolina, I see Trump taking the state by a lean margin. Trump won the state by about 3.5% in 2016, but with increased black turnout, it will be difficult to win North Carolina by more than 5%. But at the same time, I don't see Kamala Harris gaining enough voters to turn the state blue, so North Carolina leans red. In Maine, I see Trump taking the 2nd district by more than 10 percentage points, so that's safe for Trump. And because there isn't really that big of a population of blacks in Maine, Trump's incumbency advantage will be a major factor here, and I think he could win Maine at large by a lean margin. It'll be quite close, but I don't think Harris has the rural appeal that is needed in Maine. So I think Trump could turn over enough voters to get Maine at large in his column. I mean, in 2016, Trump lost Maine at large by only 3%, and with a strong economy and the incumbency advantage, I think those voters would switch their vote. New Hampshire, however, I think would go to Kamala Harris. Even though there isn't a big black population in the state, and Trump does have the incumbency and the strong economy behind him, New Hampshire would go to Kamala Harris. I think Kamala Harris would capitalize on how Trump called New Hampshire a drug-infested den, and I also think New Hampshire voters would see Harris's views on marijuana as more favorable than Trump's. New Hampshire would lean blue, therefore, and it would not be as close as it was in 2016. It was decided by less than 1% in 2016. Florida would be very close, as it is in every election, and I do think Trump would win it by a lean margin. This is because in the supposed Democratic wave year of 2018, Democrats somehow managed to lose both the governor's race and the Senate race in the state of Florida, and the Florida senator who was up, Bill Nelson, I think he was called, he was a Democratic incumbent. Now, most incumbents win their races, but the Democratic incumbent in Florida lost their race. So I think Trump will probably take the state by about 2 to 3% compared to about 1.5% in 2016. In the Rust Belt, however, I don't think Harris would do very well. I don't think she has the necessary appeal to get these voters to vote Democratic again. So I think Trump would hold Pennsylvania by a lean margin. It would be above 1%, but definitely below 5%. Though it would be closer to 1% than 5%, maybe 2%, something like that. And the same goes for Michigan as well. Above 1% but below 5%, maybe about 2% as well. However, Wisconsin might be a bit different. Michigan and Pennsylvania have sizable black populations, which is why their margin would be closer to 1%. I'm thinking maybe 2% or something like that. But Wisconsin has a smaller black population, so Wisconsin would lean in Trump's favor as well. It wouldn't be above 5%, I don't think. And so even though it would still be a lean, I think it would be closer to 5% than it would be to 1%. So Pennsylvania and Michigan would be about 2%. Wisconsin could be 3%, I think, 3 point something percent. So 3.1 or above, but not enough to be in the likely column, I don't think. Not as of now, not as of today. Minnesota, I think Minnesota would go for Trump, I think. Now, hear me out on this. Yes, it would go for Trump, but only by a tilt margin, which means under 1%. And the reason for that is even though Trump lost Minnesota by about 2.5% in 2016, I think his economic successes, such as the tax cuts and Harris's lack of appeal to the Rust Belt and a lack of black voters to turn out, I think it would be enough for Trump to narrowly take the state. And I do mean narrowly, less than 1%. In the state of Colorado, I would see Harris taking that state, and I'd see it taken by a likely margin. Her stance on marijuana would really help her there. She's for, I think it's decriminalization of it or something like that. Like, she's pro marijuana, and that would really help her in Colorado. So I think she'd win it by more than 5 points. And Trump lost Colorado by almost 5% in 2016 anyway, so I think Harris would easily be able to tip it into the likely column. In New Mexico, I see Harris taking the state also by a likely margin, but this time about 8 to 9%. Trump lost the state by 8% in 2016, and I just don't see a pathway for him to win the state as of now. There would have to be some sort of major event for Trump to win New Mexico, which could still happen, but as of today, New Mexico goes for Kamala Harris in the likely column. Arizona would be an interesting state in this election. Harris's home state is California, which is right next door to Arizona, but the states are different in how they vote. Arizona has voted Republican in every election since 2000, and California has voted Democratic in every election since 2000. I think Harris would have some appeal here, but at the same time, I think Trump would gain back the moderate Republicans who deserted him in 2016. So I think overall Trump would win Arizona, but only by a lean margin. I think the result will be similar to the 2016 one, which was 48.67% to Trump and 45.13% to Hillary Clinton. So about 3 to 4% in favour of Trump. In Iowa, I see Trump winning the state again, but this time by a safe margin, so above 10%. Iowa went for Trump by 51.15% to 41.74% in 2016. And without the appeal to the Rust Belt and without a sizable black population to turn out, I don't think Harris would be able to stop Trump from winning Iowa by more than 10%. Nevada, however, I think would go to Trump, but no, not to Trump, to Kamala Harris by a lean margin. I think that Nevada does have a sizable black population, and I think the California appeal could play a factor here again. And even though the polls showed Trump winning in 2016 in Nevada, he actually lost the state by about 2.5%. So I'm not sure if Trump will be able to find enough voters in Nevada to win the state. So I think for now Kamala Harris would win in Nevada. And last but not least, Nebraska's 2nd congressional district. I think I think that would go for that would lean in Trump's column. I think maybe about 3 to 4% in his favour. Again, I don't think Kamala Harris has much of a Midwestern appeal. The Midwest overwhelmingly went for Bernie Sanders in 2016 in the Democratic primary. and Kamala Harris, I think I'd consider her more of a Hillary Clinton than a Bernie Sanders. Yeah, I think this is what I think the map would look like. I think Trump would win with 331 electoral votes. Harris would lose with 207 electoral votes. Thank you for watching this video. If you haven't already, go and watch my other videos, Bernie Sanders versus Trump and Joe Biden versus Trump. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and donate to Patreon, which is the link to that is in the description. See you in the next video. Bye bye.